where have you guys been meeting up on the campaign trail?
Well, we had the 2 debates or forums.
Right.
People in this community use debate and forum interchangeably, I'm
Sure.
guessing. So we had those 2.
Forum sounds more gentle.
appearances.
So yeah, it started at COCC and then with the Ben Chamber event. So.
Those
Okay.
are the only 2. And then we have the mixer tomorrow. Are you can read that? The chamber mixer.
For a short period
So
of
we'll
time.
be there. Yeah. And then we have, and before that, we have a forum in Aspen Ridge.
Thanks, Brett.
Retirement community. And then a couple of Rotaries, the Redmond Patriots, League of Women Voters. Yeah.
Redmond Patriots. We
Yeah.
had a good time with John Hummel last time that folks got out there.
Yeah.
I missed that one. I want to try to attend. When is that meeting?
Monday night,
This Monday?
this coming Monday. Yeah, I put all of them on my events page of our
Okay.
website. If they cost, I put $signs. If they don't, it says free.
So what are, well, let me just step back just so this is our endorsement interview. It's more of a discussion.
Okay.
It's an opportunity for you both to make pitches to us, as well as just to talk. And this is not meant to be a debate at all. This is just meant to spell out some policies, spell out some, put out some personalities in terms of why you feel you best work, will work or work at the county commission. And hopefully will take about an hour or so.
Okay.
This is one of the critical races on the ballot.
Why do you think so?
I think for a number of reasons. I mean, I think that I prefer local things as opposed to like the presidential races, or the further that people are removed, from the actual policy. So I just think it's one of the importance because it's your county
There's
commission.
only 3 of them.
There's only 3. It's,
Yeah.
3 of them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
for an individual person making the decision is a lot more weight, I think, than in a lot of the other areas. And you're not as, you don't have the large staffs to delegate stuff to. So really, the voters get what they vote for
Right.
in this particular race.
So I want to go back to the debate/forums, and what questions have people been most asking at those forums?
Besides why are you running?
Yeah, besides the softballs.
Yeah.
Let's
They warmed you up to it.
right.
Yeah.
What policy issue? I guess the question what I'm more curious in, what seems to be on the voters' minds, and either what are they saying, like, wow, we really want you to fix the schools, and you're like, well, that's not really our job, or
Right.
what is it that really is on voters' minds that seems to be in line with what changes you could make or what leverage you would have in the office?
We'll bounce back and forth.
Yeah. Does it matter which one goes
Doesn't matter.
first? Okay.
So I always start with Deschutes County is a pretty happy, healthy level of government, and it has been. It's got a long track record of that. I'm honored to be a county commissioner now, finishing up 4 years as a county commissioner. It's been a heck of a opportunity to serve our community. We've got a lot of big common services. Our sheriff's department, the solid waste, the fairgrounds, big health department. We want to personally, I just want to keep it between the lines, provide that service with quiet confidence. We don't make a lot of headlines in Deschutes County. There's not a lot of controversy. I mean, we make some pretty big decisions. We definitely do. We spend a lot of the people's money. You're asking about.
You do do a good job of staying out of the media. So, that's the nature of it, I think.
I think I got the boot pretty early or something, but I haven't seen it in a long time
It's been a
now.
while.
So years ago,
It's
yeah.
been a while.
Uh,
But what are
So
they?
then-
But when you're out there, what are they?
Or knocking doors at forums
What are
or-
you hearing from people, Tony?
Well, the thing that bothers me most is the low information voter. Absolutely. When I knock on doors, people are like, "Who are you and what are you doing?" It's like, "Oh, I've heard of that." Some people know our names, and but they haven't met. But there's a lot of people that are very much disengaged, not up to speed on what we do, just the basics. Just like I introduced just now, the jail, the solid waste, and the health department. People do not know this information. The business that we provide. If we have a $300 million budget, we're spending that much money every year. You know, people are like, well, I didn't know this. You know, they just don't know the information, and that's what bothers me.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I haven't had a lot of people just say, oh, I needed to tell you a piece of my mind. People don't come up to me and say that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's kind of the flip side of what you want. The entertainment value of why did you vote here and what are you thinking? It's really not there. It's that lack of information that's really kind of gets me.
And I think from my side, what we're hearing as we're in community meetings or going door to door, people that we're talking to have some discouragement with coming through the recession and the recovery being different than I think they had expected. We're still seeing a lot of people hurting financially. We're seeing an income gap, and we've been knocking primarily in Bend and Redmond, and then visiting the communities of Lapine, Sisters, and Terrebonne. So the majority of our door knocking time has been in two of the larger cities. And we're hearing from people, like one gentleman that I knocked on his door was injured on his job and couldn't go back to it because he couldn't physically do it anymore, was looking for work, is overqualified for some things, for others. He's in a gap and taking care of an ailing parent. So he's in a place where he's renting a house and is very happy to have that, but as rents are going up, he's finding it less affordable to live here. So I think broad spectrum, we're hearing a lot about job and job growth or opportunity and housing affordability in the cities. So people want to know, what can you do about that if you're elected? Can you help either them in their individual situation or the broader community? So those are things that we're hearing top of mind for people because they're very concerned going forward.
Do you think you can help them with recession issues?
Good question. On the other side of that coin, we're hearing a lot of hope. So yes, I do think we can. I think for me, that's where higher education provides not only institutions that hire faculty and have their own employment base or as an employer, but when you have an educated workforce to go into industries that we want to recruit here, and you have that infrastructure in place through COCC, OSU Cascades, and some other colleges that have programs here by correspondence, I think we're going to have that workforce. And I think we're also doing a better job with vocational training for people that choose to not pursue a degree but want job training. I think there's great opportunity, I know at the city level and at the county level, to help with that. And I know that we can with lottery dollars. I know that we can with partnerships with economic development for Central Oregon. I mean, there's a number of ways to get engaged in that as an elected official. And so that's where, when I'm talking to people, I hope that we can do that going forward. And that's where listening to the communities that we serve is going to be very important.
So I guess I would like just to keep on Jodie, you talking about that a little bit more. So why are you running for county commissioner then, if education and developing higher education and a stronger workforce sounds like it's on the top of your priority list? Like what's
so why am I running
for county commission?
Right.
If that's the change that you want to affect, and that's your major, you know, when how much of that do you think is central to the job of being county commissioner?
I think it's very central
to
the job, in that we
how
have.
Much,
go ahead. How much?
Well, I was, funding, or like, why not run for school board?
Because school board has a focus solely on education, and here that's K through 12.
Mm-hmm.
Having grown up around this county, living in Terrebonne, Redmond, Bend, and Sun River, and being involved in city government, for me, it's taking that regional perspective. So when you look at the offerings in Redmond, and I was just at the ribbon cutting for COCC's Technology Center yesterday, it's an amazing facility. What they're growing on that campus and what that's going to do for this region, for me is important. I think providing the opportunity in a number of locations around the county and partnering with Jefferson and Crook, that's why for me, not just focusing on it for Bend, but looking bigger picture. How can we regionally have better access and opportunity to higher education? That's where, as an elected official, relationships with our state legislators, I almost said legislatures, but legislators matters, because we can lobby for funding. We can have that conversation, go to Salem and say, this is what I'm hearing in my community, and represent the interests of the various cities. That's why I've enjoyed the Central Oregon Cities Organization. All the mayors get together once a month and we talk about how can we support each other in this? How can we, rather than compete for grant funding, work together, wait our turn, and let you go first, and work in tandem rather than being against each other. So it's that collaboration that I've been working on that has led me to want to continue working at a broader, bigger picture level. Sorry, that's my phone buzzing in my purse.
All right, I think it's become a constant background.
I would. Can you follow up? And I know you want to jump into some other stuff, but from sitting behind the desk as a county commissioner, how much of your job is developing what Jodie is saying, and how much of it is developing those opportunities for higher education or vocational training and
So one of the things I struggle with is differentiating myself from my opponent. I mean, it's always going to be like that. She speaks very well about, you know, the people she hears from and the things she wants to change, and we're working together, we're trying to get grants. And I just don't see it like that, and it's so interesting. And maybe it doesn't resonate with the media. I mean, because I have a hard time here sometimes. I know I'm creating jobs, being members, or, you know, on the board at EDCO, being involved with the Bend Chamber of Commerce. I have relationships with a lot of business owners, the different people that run businesses, invest in our community, and create those jobs. We are in the capital investment and the jobs created in EDCO in the last few years is phenomenal. We are diversifying our economy right now. I am a firm believer, as a county commissioner, I want to be a reference point that's a stable Archimedean point, referring to something from geology or geometry way back, for other people to be able to use as a solid reference point. You know, we are welcoming business here. We are setting the table for economic development. We want your I want, you know, the we I was referring to was the people I work with in economic development, but I want to see families thrive here, have opportunities. You know, there's always a lot of people that are struggling in transition in life, and I feel for them. You know, as a member of a church community, we help people all the time. The Lapine Community Kitchen, the St. Vincent de Paul, I support these organizations. I want to help people. But the flip side is we need to make that kind of vacuum effect of, here, there's a job, let's go work here, let's go make something happen, let's create something, sell a traded sector product or item, and you know, create wealth for you. You know, I'm passionate about that. I know that, you know, all the chambers of commerce in EDCO, you know, we do set the table for economic development. So as a county commissioner, funding for that, you know, that's something that I said, hey, let's add some money right here, right now, EDCO. So we supported the Lapine and the Sisters Economic Development Director, in part in coordination with those cities. We've also doubled some of the funding, and so it generally went from about $100,000 to $200,000 from our economic development funds. But as I say, there's different ways that money goes, and we can document every bit of it. Welcoming OSU Cascades here, heck yeah! I'm very excited about that. A 4-year university, getting it placed, you know, it's kind of an awkward situation when you're in the middle of land use and people are opposing it. Right now, and I know you're going to see it tonight at the city council, you know, the appeal process. We've got to work through that appeal process, but we need to welcome that with enthusiasm, make sure that they feel welcome at all times here in, you know, in Central Oregon. OSU Cascades, think about it. They're talking about 10 acres, the option 46. We've got a 70-acre landfill. The Bend Park District has their maintenance yard over there. There's a big campus, and I know that one of the appeal items is you know, the master plan, but we can't master plan all that. Some of it's an active landfill, and there's other ownership. but the opportunities in the next 10 and 20 years are humongous out there. So traffic planning, land use, advocating at the state level, that's exactly what we want to be doing.
So let me shift a little bit on it regarding OSU Cascades, and I'll open it back up. You know, for a city person, you know, the siting of the OSU Cascades is, you know, it's debatable, but we've taken our position that we think it's a great location. Moving to the county, however, you have some real challenges in moving people from those outlying areas through Bend over to that campus. And you know, when we've sat and talked to the OSU folks, and they've spoken eloquently about the need for mass transit and options for collaboration and partnership. But as it's moving forward, what I've seen is more, you know, rubber's hitting the road. We're talking about dollars. Do you see the county stepping forward? Do you see yourselves, you know, as this thing develops, trying to leverage county people to put money into transit to move bodies from there to that higher education center? You can start.
COCC is the community college, and you know there may be more transportation issues getting in and out of COCC. We're talking about a 40-year university with on-site living. That's very different. So yes, there's going to be transportation issues. We're not putting a stadium over there that I know of, but we're not putting a stadium over there. So we're not talking about a big traffic jam event, you know, theater situation. Parking's an issue. You know, if we ended up taking out a roundabout at Simpson, and this is inside the city, and re-engineering over there, that may be appropriate. You know, and then I'm referring to the next 10, 15, 20 years.
What I'm more talking about is, do you think it's appropriate for the county to start paying into larger bus infrastructure, or, you know, dreaming on for light rail? I mean, I know that's millions and millions, it's unrealistic, but these are the kind of things I'm talking about.
No,
like,
so
I get road engineering, but you're going to have to move some of those people.
Not at all. So I'm a rural resident. I live 30 miles from here. I moved there and I keep my car well maintained, and I expect to be able to drive myself in from my house 30 miles from here. I will make sure my son has a vehicle or transportation. I'm not an advocate of trying to get a bus system throughout the whole county. I absolutely support downtown to downtown community connectors. You know, and then you know, if Uber and Lyft want to come in Central Oregon and, you know, deal with our rural area, let's look at that. But I know for a fact that any bus ride in Portland Metro, I get on for free in the downtown core. I pay $3 to go across town. It costs 4, 5, 6, 10 times more than that every time somebody gets on the bus. Highly subsidized. That's not the right thing for Central Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is where I think we disagree. I think I can't and won't talk about the specific site for OSU Cascades. So
Right.
that's off limits for me. Regardless of where a campus landed in this region, we need better transit. And that was part of why Commissioner Unger and I co-chaired the transition committee for 9 months when Bend Area Transit went to Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council, so that we had stakeholders in the room and riders that were able to inform the decision to go there. The city of Bend has been giving $1 million a year to COIC to maintain services as our proportional share here in Bend. I think the county does have an obligation to have funding for transit, because transit systems are subsidized. I was meeting with Bill Smith yesterday, and he told me, so I haven't verified this, but according to Bill Smith, the only unsubsidized transit system or transportation system that exists in the world is in Hong Kong. So I don't know, you'd have to fact check that, because
No, I fully believe that it's going to cost if you do.
yeah, that's where I think wherever, whether it's a municipal system or a broader based regional system, it's going to take government subsidies of some sort to continue, because you don't recoup the costs in the fare box. Doesn't happen.
Do you think that you'll get that kind of support for those monies at the county level from county taxpayers?
Good question. I don't know. Are you talking about asking the voters for a
Well,
tax?
moving
Yeah.
from the city to the county, I mean, county residents have different priorities.
Sure.
And you know, I remain curious whether county residents would support or do support transit options.
Right.
You know?
And that's a good question. I don't know. That county being the areas outside of cities, if it, the talk that I've seen from the Intergovernmental Council was to put to the voters, or if, there's a hypothetical, if you put to the voters a transit district that would encompass the county area, then you're gonna have the rural and the urban population base voting on it. And that you could have the more urban areas drive that vote, and be counter to what you would see in precincts outside of that. But that's a question I think that could be asked. I know we asked it here in Bend, and we asked voters about that not too long ago, and they rejected it. So looking forward, I know that the groups have talked about the possibility of a payroll tax, which again, you have to engage your business community
Right.
on. So I think we need to keep moving forward on that. I think to have the funding the way it is now, it's cobbled together and it's going okay, but it's not sustainable long term. And so that's where I think we need a comprehensive look.
Tony, you want to say something?
So the conclusion I heard her come to is that if we included the whole county, maybe the city can vote, enough people in the city can vote to make everybody pay for it. And that's just offensive for a rural county person.
I'm saying it could happen that way.
That'd be, so then a commissioner would be in a situation to get that to the vote of the people you advocate for or against, getting it to the vote of the people. So that's a very powerful position that a commissioner is in. I'd be absolutely advocating for the rural county, and yeah, we definitely see it differently. As with the advent of high-speed internet, I mean, as I said, I live halfway between Sun River and La Pine. I've got 4 different opportunities to get on high-speed internet, full video capability at my house. It's interesting to talk about transportation needs, but the world is a changing place also. We do not need as much transportation. I mean, kids can go to school via the internet, a lot of people working remotely. The whole concept is evolving right now, just like I mentioned, Uber and Lyft. Drone delivery service from Amazon. I mean, thinking of a big old diesel bus driving down the road does not sound like anything that we should be aiming for.
Sounds good.
What I'd like to sort of continue on the broader topic then of maybe some rural interest versus, if we're going to call Bend urban interest. That how do you see those split? Because that's obviously something that it does sound like you need to represent both of them. And what are other areas as a county commissioner that you can manage that you see a split besides transportation in terms of county services between those two areas?
Are you referring to differences between the two candidates here?
No, as a county commissioner,
As a
where do
county
you see
commissioner from a rural area?
or just like in the county?
Yeah.
What are some of the highest priority or the issues that have the highest split between urban and rural interests?
Well, wildfire, forest management, wildfire protection. And what we just saw in Weed, California, 150 houses lost yesterday in Weed, California, right over the border. And so my point is, it could come into Bend any day, but the probability that's kind of decreasing as more density and more cleanup happens. But we've got rural areas where wildfire is absolutely a direct threat, and the forest management practices by the federal government is a high priority. If you think about it, it's like 100 years of buildup. Everybody's so proud to put out forest fires, but now we've got so much biomass and waste sitting on the floor of the forest, or biomass, we shouldn't call it waste maybe. We've got to do something about it, and we've got to actively keep putting pressure on that. We have hired a county forester. In fact, Joe Stutler's retired. Ed Keith is in there now. Joe's still a special consultant to us. We have got the ear in Washington, D.C. People understand that Deschutes County is speaking loudly on the subject of forest management. We want to help our partners in the Forest Service and the BLM too. They're kind of stuck because they've got the laws, the funding, and the resources to fight fires, and then the lawsuits that stop them from doing aggressive forest practices. So we need to help our Forest Service.
You as a county?
Yeah, and we can do that because as a county commissioner, we are advocating for a population of people. 160,000 people are living we only have 20% of our property here in Deschutes County privately owned. The rest is federally owned. public lands. That's a voice. When a county commissioner walks in Washington D.C. speaking to our senator, they understand that we are speaking for a good chunk of people. Very important.
What is your relationship with Senator Merkley or Senator?
So Senator Ron Wyden and I go back from our the Pine Rural Land Events Lands project. We started that like 9 years ago. I stood up in a public hearing in Lapine High School. I said, Senator, did you support ask to the BLM for land? He said, we love rodeos, and that was many years ago now. He got it through the Senate two different legislative cycles, and then Greg Walden was able to pick it up the second time around and make that happen. So we've got a long history of it. Ron Wyden and I know each other real well. Merkley and I just haven't really crossed paths very much, but yeah, Greg Walden definitely.
And to be fair, what's your relationship with Walden, Greg Walden? You work well with?
Yeah, I work very well with him and his staff, yeah. Very exciting.
Jodie, when you look at the split between, where do you see the split between the interest of city dwellers and country folk?
Well,
Country
there's
folk,
this
I'm
line,
offended here.
it's called the urban growth boundary. So working, I'll just finish up on, I'll start on the forest. I've been working on the Deschutes Forest Collaborative since coming on City Council, and Commissioner Unger's been involved in that. And we've worked with the Forest Service and BLM and all the private landowners as well. So forest management practices are going to be critical. And leveraging our resources and our federal elected officials is going to be important going forward, and we are doing that. Cities and county included. So moving away from that, other things that we're focused on, I think on the county side, are how cities grow. So with Lapine being our newest city, Redmond, Bend, and Sisters all having urban growth boundaries, how they manage, and as they grow into county-controlled, governed land. And so that's, I think, going to be important over the next, not just 4 years, but looking really long term. And then the county commissioners are the town council for Terrebonne and Tumalo because they're unincorporated communities. So understanding the needs of the residents in those communities is going to be important. On the rural side, further out from the city boundaries, I've been meeting with farmers who are making a great living with organic farming, particularly in the Terrebonne area, that I happen to buy my produce from. And I appreciate their willingness to say, I have a right to farm and I want to continue to farm. The other issue that I think is very different that I'm